the best way to spend your 2 extra picks in FFPC Slim best ball drafts this season? Which AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals will be bust this year? And where do you draft Calvin Ridley in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament right now with the FFPC? Plus, the 2021 FFPC Best Ball Tournament $100,000 grand prize winner Connor O'Driscoll joins me to talk about what 2021 taught him, what mistakes he sees best ball drafters making, and much more. Then, we welcome back FFPC co-founder Alex Kaganowski as the prognosticator himself walks you through how to bet props in the big game on Sunday. We've got a great show for you. Connor O'Driscoll and Alex Kaganowski are here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
I can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson. Make out of the messes. Take the hit for rent. Just 'cause it was right there in the dresser so easy. Pick me up, kiss me, and you squeeze me.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com, with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here's Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. And all I hear is just white noise when we're speaking. There's too much rebel from the voices in my head. I hear them singing, but I can't make out the words.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you to the Quiet Hollers. Remember to check out their music at quiethollers.com. Greetings and salutations to all the Balkaholics and Farrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Farrell Elliott. If you're not aware, Farrell has a big Super Bowl weekend party that he is throwing in Louisville, Kentucky. So he is actually off this evening, but he will return next Friday along with our extra special big-time winner in 2021 in the FFPC. I'll let you know who that is coming up at the end of the program tonight. Coming up on tonight's show, the inaugural FFPC Best Ball Tournament $100,000 champ Connor O'Driscoll and I will discuss which player on his championship roster he nearly didn't draft, which first-round Minnesota Viking is the better choice in the 2022 Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, and much more. The prognosticator, Alex Kaganowski, will then hop aboard to tell us what Super Bowl props he's betting and what Super Bowl props he's staying away from. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you all might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, the show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. You can always follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_FFPC. And, of course, Connor O'Driscoll on Twitter is at DricoOut. That's DRICOOUT. You can always learn more about Farrell Elliott's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. And spots open this weekend and going forward in about the next week or so with all the Super Sunday competition drafts that are going, or competitive drafts that are going on with the KFFSC. Register for those at KFFSC.com. You can post on the show's Facebook page at facebook.com/HSFFhour. And if you want to call us tonight, please do so. 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVER. You can also email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you have any questions for us. Get them into us now. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, all the tweets, all the emails coming up throughout the program tonight. I want to give a shout-out to our audio engineer and my best friend, Bryce, and our producer and mutual friend, Rob. All right, I don't know if you saw the big announcement this week, but huge news in the FFPC, maybe our biggest announcement ever in our 14, 15-year history, whatever it's been now. The 2022 FFPC main event, first place, it's $1 million. You can win $1 million playing season-long fantasy football with the FFPC this year in the main event. $1 million is the grand prize, a prize pool of almost $6 million. Remember to get in on that early bird discount Save $100 off your first team by May 31st, and, of course, $500 off each additional team beyond that. The inaugural Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament is going on right now, myffpc.com. So check that out as well. $25,000 grand prize drafts going through April 28th. There are dozens of Dynasty Orphans also available. All you need to do is go to myffpc.com/dynasty for sale, and you can check those out right there. Plenty of slow line, sit and go, best ball options, all, you guessed it, at myffpc.com. And like I said, the KFFSC Super Sunday Championship Leagues are indeed opening at kffsc.com. I think all the, I think I mentioned this last week, all the big paybacks are sold out for all the drafts going on tomorrow, which is Friday, Saturday, and as well as game day Sunday, the day of the Pro Football Championship, the day of the Super Bowl. And I will be participating in the Super Sunday Championship on February 20th. I believe that league is roughly half full. That is an online draft. You don't have to be in Louisville or anywhere to draft that one. You can just draft that right at KFFSC. It is going to be an exciting show tonight with a couple of guests, with Connor O'Driscoll coming up in just a minute here. And we'll also have, of course, Alex Kaganowski talking Super Bowl props, always one of the most enjoyable programs that we have, most enjoyable episodes we have each and every year here. Going to be exciting stuff there when we get to find out what the prognosticator is betting on this year. Shout out to the chat room right now, and actually a shout out from the chat room right now, beg your pardon, from Hudson Kern-Reeve, the Wasp guy. He wants to know, should Najee Harris be the second running back off the board in FFPC drafts in 2022? Well, here's what I can tell you right now, Hudson Kern-Reeve. First of all, thanks for listening. Thanks for the question. I can tell you what the FFPC owners, FFPC best ball players are doing right now in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. They are not going with Najee Harris as the number 2 running back off the board. The reason I know this is because of FantasyMojo.com's great website. That's Darren Armani. You can follow him on Twitter at FantasyMojo. All the ADP data we get strictly from that website for this program. So thank you to Darren Armani for that. I want to bring up the top 5 running backs going right now in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Remember, this is I guess it doesn't affect the ADP a whole lot. It is a slim draft, but here's what we're looking at for the top 5 running backs off the board. The first one, no surprise, it is Jonathan Taylor at the 101. Not only the first running back off the board, but the first player off the board in this draft, or in these drafts on average. A little bit of a surprise here. The number 2 running back, it's Christian McCaffrey. And I think it's a little surprising to see him go. We talked about this before the FFPC draft started this season. We said, where is McCaffrey going to tumble to be a second-round pick? And I think most of the high-stakes players we've talked to on this show still expected him to go in the first round, but not 102. My goodness, 102, second player off the board, second running back off the board. It's a little crazy. I don't know if I would be taking a risk. Just look at it this way, people. Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp's the 103. You tell me who you'd rather have in 2022. McCaffrey, guy who maybe is playing for a lame duck head coach, who just fired their offense coordinator, or Cooper Kupp, who is the foundation, the focus on the center of the NFC Championship, Los Angeles Rams. I think I'd rather have Kupp, so that's a little bit interesting there. After that, after Kupp goes at the 103, then you're looking at Austin Eckler as the third running back off the board at the 104. Then you get the second receiver, Jamar Chase, and then a couple more running backs here. Derrick Henry ascending all the way up on average again at the 106. And then you get Kern's guy, Najee Harris, at the 107, fifth running back off the board, right in front of Travis Kelce. Najee Harris is going to be an interesting guy this year because you have a situation of a new quarterback coming in. The coaching staff, the offensive coordinator should stay the same this year, so that's a feather in his cap. The offensive line needs to be better. I mean, how many times were we watching the Pittsburgh Steelers on a primetime game last year And we just see Najee Harris slamming in to the backs of his offensive linemen. That works out, and certainly that needs to be better next year. On the bright side, his pass catching was awesome, and the Steelers obviously had a penchant to throw to him quite a bit too. So I think that as they usher in a new quarterback, if it is not a veteran, if it's a veteran quarterback, let's say it's somebody like Russell Wilson, somebody Teddy Bridgewater, whatever, comes to Pittsburgh, some sort of upgrade over Mason Rudolph. Well, then, yeah, I think you can bump Chase Claypool up a little bit. Maybe Schuster to a certain degree if he still is in Pittsburgh. But then the question, and this is what's fascinating to me, part of the reason that Najee Harris, at least from the passing game standpoint, Deontay Johnson and the rookie Pat Freiermuth, part of the reason that those guys were so good last year was because Ben Roethlisberger's arm and his elbow, it was just, I wouldn't say it's shot because he still, got the ball downfield at times. But for the most part, it just could not consistently get the ball accurately downfield enough. Farrell Elliott, if he was here right now, he would tell you Chase Claypool is a fantastic, wonderful wide receiver, and he was the victim of having a quarterback throw to him last year that simply just did not have any of consistent accuracy, and that really affected him. Now, if the flip side, that's if it's better. If it's a rookie, you want to bring in Sam Howell, or you bring in Malik Willis, perhaps. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do in the draft. Quite frankly, they have to figure out their front office too. Then I don't know. I think then you could see maybe more of a repeat of 2021. Much easier for a rookie quarterback to come in and check down to Freiermuth, check down to Najee Harris, check down to Deontay Johnson, and not pump the ball downfield to Chase Claypool, and not pump the ball to whoever the other guys, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, whoever the stretch guy, whatever that's going to happen. Maybe then it is a return where Harris becomes a value there, as much as you can have a value, at the 107. It's tough. And I think the other thing to keep in mind here and Kern's pointing this out in the chat room right now, and I'll wrap us Steelers up here. With Najee Harris, it's kind of a question of is the risk worth it in the mid-first round? Let's say all the top guys are off the board. Taylor, McCaffrey, Kupp, Eckler, Chase, Henry. All those guys are gone. Would you want to take a risk on Harris, or does the familiarity of Travis Kelce, does that make more sense? If you get a Justin Jefferson facing you at that spot at the 107 as a third wide receiver there, would you rather take him? Tyreek Hill, Joe Mixon is going to be right up there this year. In fact, we'll get into Joe Mixon a little bit later on in the show. But I think all those players there is maybe more of a warm fuzziness to drafting those players than Najee Harris. So I think that that's something that's worth mentioning as well. We are having some technical difficulties here getting Connor O'Driscoll on, and I'm going to work on that right now while we try to get him aboard right now. As we do that, I do want to bring up some of the stuff that's been going on around the NFL with the news and notes. Apologize, rambling here a little bit. And the first thing I want to bring up is a player that is kind of a wild card this season, and it was a player that, quite frankly, I don't know what to do with. I don't have a good answer for this right now, and that's Calvin Ridley. AtlantaFalcons.com had this story. this week. Quotes from Arthur Blank, the owner of Atlanta, said he'd love for Calvin Ridley to remain with the team this coming year. I'm going to read the quote from Blank here, the pertinent quote. We love the young man. He has a great history in Atlanta. We'd love him to stay in Atlanta. Whether or not he wants to do that, he may decide that he wants a fresh start someplace else. We don't know that. I don't know that. I don't have information to indicate that, but we'll see how that plays out. We've been totally supportive in every way that we can be, both emotionally and financially, and working with him as well as his agent. We'll see, but I'm mostly concerned about him as a human being. Ridley, if you remember, personal reasons kept him away from the Falcons most of the 2021 season, and that was because of his mental well-being. There's been some pundits out there that have said that Atlanta might look to move on from Calvin Ridley and to trade him. He's going into the final year of his rookie deal. This is his fifth-year option, and he certainly could sign an extension with the team if he'd like. But I think before signing an extension, the Falcons and Ridley need to get into, not a negotiation room, but they need to meet and they need to figure this out and figure out where his head's at and figure out whether playing football is going to be part of his future right now. Now, if you are drafting in the never too early best ball tournament with the FFPC, I think that what's interesting here is you have to make a choice on that right now. You can't just wait to see how these things get fixed. You have to sort of stake your claim on Ridley now. How are you going to handle him? This is how the FFPC high-stakes players have been handling him right now. Calvin Ridley, on average, in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, going at 4.09 as wide receiver 18. He is going right after DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, and Mike Evans, right before Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper. And so I think that, you're essentially talking about a fourth-round pick here. So you have three players on your roster already. The question is the risk at this point worth taking Ridley in the fourth round after you already have your top three players? And I think in a competition like this, maybe it is worth it. All these drafts for the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, they end April 28th. They end before the NFL draft starts. We don't know where any of these rookies are ending up. We don't know what kind of role they're going to have. And quite frankly, there's going to be some free agents that are out there that we don't know where they're going to end up. So I think at that point, when you're risk is the name of the game with the Never Too Early tournament. And at that point, what could you be looking at there? What kind of a team could you have if you're taking Calvin Ridley at the 4.09? Maybe you have George Kittle in the early third. Maybe you took Nick Chubb in the late second. And maybe in the early first, you went with a guy like Eckler or something. At that point, it's like Eckler, Chubb, Kittle, Calvin Ridley is your number one receiver. I get it. Hudson Kern Reed pointing out in the chat room right now, you draft for upside in best ball. And that's not necessarily just the Never Too Early tournament. That's just in general. The lineup sets itself. And if you're trying to win $25,000 in the Never Too Early Best Ball tournament right now, I think that is indeed the way to go. Moving on here, I want to talk a little bit about this Kyler Murray gate. And this is something that Bryce actually brought up to me. I didn't even realize this was a thing until probably Wednesday morning. But according to AZ Central, Kyler Murray unfollowed the Cardinals on Instagram and Twitter. This according to AZ Central. Now, all the Cardinals-related photos on his Instagram, I don't know if he did it. I don't know if he paid somebody to do it, because there's not much on my Instagram, but I wouldn't even want to go through the 100, 200 photos I have on there and try to, clean that out. But he deleted all the Cardinals-related photos from his Instagram. Now, publicly, as far as we know, he has not said anything that he is unhappy in Arizona. He wants a trade. He wants out of there. Maybe he's just doing like a social media scrub. I don't know. And quite frankly, he doesn't have to talk to anybody right now, so we don't know what he's thinking. If you want to look deeper into this, Arizona didn't exactly end the season very well. It was a bad playoff loss that happened. I don't know. And I think that I don't want to just poo-poo it and say this is nothing. I mean, I think it's something, but I am not, my spidey sense is not tingling too much. Christian Kirk, according to Waskai, not according to Waskai, Waskai's pointing this out in the chat room right now, he said he's not re-signing with Arizona, and he's a free agent right now, unless Kyler Murray's there. Is this a power play? I don't know. By Kyler Murray, is he trying to hold the Cardinals in the house? Remember, this was probably a couple of weeks ago when he gave some interview and somebody brought up baseball. You remember he was a first-round pick, I believe, by the Oakland Athletics in baseball, and he decided to pursue a football career instead. And he had a case of not really slam. He had the opportunity to slam the door shut on the whole baseball talk, and he chose not to. He said, it's something to the effect of, keep my options open. You never know, stuff like that. So already, there had to be something there. Now, how are high stakes players treating this Kyler Murray situation in the Never Too Early Best Ball tournament? He has not, in my opinion, he has not been penalized and I think this is a case of people not reading too much into this right now. Quarterback 6 is where he's going. The 5'11" is where he is being drafted right now. End of the 5th round, he is obviously behind as far as quarterbacks go. He's behind Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow going basically neck and neck. I mean, they're both going at the 5'11". So if you want to say Kyler Murray is the quarterback 5, the quarterback 6, that's what you're looking at there. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to communicate with Connor right now as we're having some difficulties here getting him aboard, and I'm not sure what the issue is, but we will do our best to try to get him on. In fact, I'm going to try something right now, so just stand by 1 second, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll try to get Connor on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for the technical difficulties this evening. Again, this is something I've never run across before, so I'm not really sure what the issue is, but we're doing our best to get in the $100,000 FFPC Best Ball Tournament champ on the show tonight. Connor O'Driscoll, you follow him on Twitter at DricoOut. As we try to get Connor on here, I want to keep talking a little bit about some of the, just because it's Super Bowl week doesn't mean that there's not news around the NFL. That's one of the things the NFL has been able to give us over the years is people are still going out and doing things, and some things that are very, very bad. I'm looking at you, Alvin Kamara. He was actually arrested in Las Vegas for battery resulting in substantial bodily harm. This according to the Las Vegas Police Department's Twitter account. This is kind of interesting. Kamara was actually arrested a few hours after the end of the Pro Bowl. However, the Las Vegas Police Department stated that the incident occurred in a nightclub on February 5th, which was the night before the Pro Bowl. That was the day before he participated. The investigation's still ongoing. The Saints in the league, I believe, are monitoring the situation. If they're not publicly saying that, I guarantee you that they are. The question here is, and this is something that Hudson Reeve was asking about in the chat earlier tonight. He wants to know what we think of Kamara right now, especially in dynasty leagues. and what's going on with that. And I think I don't have a good answer to this. And I'm not really sure what to believe. I'm not really sure, how to handle this situation when it comes to, what you do with Kamara. I think that there is plenty of reason to believe that when you have a situation of Alvin Kamara having as many miles on the tires, so to speak, as he did, I'm sure that a lot of people would think that, they were already looking to sell him off, that they were already looking to move on, to try to get younger players or draft picks, because they felt like they got the best of Alvin Kamara, and that this was it. This is all that they were going to be able. This was the best time to sell him off, as far as getting the best return on him for Dynasty. And if that's the case, then this thing probably didn't matter to you beforehand because you're already trying to move on from him. I'm not really sure what the correct answer is here, because he could be suspended for a year. I mean, or longer, especially if the video gets out. The worst part about the Ray Rice thing for Ray Rice was there was video of it. Had there not been video, then maybe the penalty wouldn't have been so severe. And if the video does get out of Kamara, again, the reports, stomping or kicking a guy times or 23 times or whatever it was, that could be a career ender. Now, I don't think I'd be willing, it's one of those things, I don't think I'm willing to take 30 cents on the dollar for Alvin Kamara right now. I don't think I'm willing to take even 60 cents on the dollar. I think I'd want to let this play out. We know the NFL has been slow moving when it comes to this, in the past, and maybe nothing happens for the 2022 season. I'm reminded of the Tyreek Hill thing from a year or two ago, whatever it was, with the domestic stuff facing him. Think about all the people that got Tyreek Hill for basically nothing, a third-round rookie pick, a fourth-round rookie pick, because people thought Tyreek Hill's career was over. And then what happened? Well, not much, and certainly not much from a dynasty perspective. So, when it comes to that, I think that, there's a situation where the correct, way to do this is simply to wait and let the process pay out. Because if you let the process play out and you don't end up selling this guy for 25 cents on the dollar, then you have a situation where this could work out perfectly for you. And then maybe the time is to sell him. If he gets a 1-game, 2-game suspension and you're in a dynasty league, then maybe you make the move to sell him at that point. And if you sell him at that point, then everything, this was all part of the plan, and you get rid of him at that point. And then you're still cashing in on Alvin Kamara, and you're still getting the young players or picks or what have you. But it's a roll of the dice, just like anything this time of the year. There's so much that is unsettled. There's so much we just won't have concrete, finalized answers to until the start of the season, or as we get closer to the start of the season. Alvin Kamara is one of them. So what's the answer here? I don't know. I don't know if there's a correct one. If you're asking me what I would do, I would hang tight. If somebody knocks your socks off with a deal, then maybe, you take advantage of that. But I think that at this point, I would be holding. And that's how I would handle the Alvin Kamara situation right now. Moving forward here, Adam Schefter reported the Dolphins. I believe he was the guy who broke the story about Mike McDaniel being hired as the Dolphins head coach. And the Dolphins actually, a few minutes later, after he said that Mike McDaniel would be the next head coach, the Dolphins did indeed state that he would be their head coach going forward. Kellen Moore, also a finalist, the Cowboys offensive coordinator. I think it's telling that they wanted offensive guys in here. Brian Flores was the defensive guy from New England, and I was a little surprised to let him go. I think a lot of people were pretty surprised that he was let go. But the two guys that they ended up targeting, or, the final two guys that made, the final cut were Mike McDaniel and Kellen Moore, both offensive guys. This is a team that invested into Jalen Waddle with significant draft capital, a team that invested in Tua Tagovailoa, that they still expect to get a lot out of him going forward. I don't know what's going to happen with Devontae Parker, but they did sign Will Fuller as well. Obviously, Mike Gesicki, a big part of their offense. So clearly, the Dolphins want to put up points this year. They see what Josh Allen's done in Buffalo. They see what Mac Jones is kind of doing in New England, quite frankly. And then you have a case of the Jets investing in Zach Wilson and Michael Carter and Elijah Moore there too. And I don't think they want to be left behind, and they're putting an emphasis on the offense this year. You want to surround Tua Tagovailoa not only with good skill position players, but a really good quarterback coach as well. And Mike McDaniel is a bright offensive mind. You really can't find a whole lot of people that have much to negative say about Mike McDaniel, and there's certainly been a ton of positive, talk about him out there. He only had one season as an offensive coordinator with San Francisco, but according to reports, he was a crucial part of that offense, and the players really respected him as a leader. He was their run game coordinator for the last 4 years. Miami was 30th in rushing last year, by the way. So obviously Mike McDaniel is going to put an emphasis on making sure that the run game is huge. Now, as we look at how this is affecting Dolphins players in the draft, I don't know if it's had much of an impact. And obviously this is still fresh. And Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 13 at the 309. Mike Gesicki, you're looking at him going as tight end 12 at the 1001. And I think those are the two big playmakers you think of when you think Miami, at least for their offense. And I think when that's the case, Dolphins are going to bring in some more guys. Maybe there's more of an emphasis on linemen and a stud running back, a 3-down guy that they can bring in there, a legit one that they can bring in. Obviously, Mike McDaniel is known for being a talented offensive mind, and the best way to execute your plan is to have players who can do it. And I don't necessarily know if all those players are in Miami yet. Certainly they're going to be working with a lot of draft picks there to help the cause there. But I think this is a step in the right direction for the Dolphins. I think this is a step in the right direction for their offense and drafting those offensive players. Totally on board with Mike Gesicki as tight end 12. If you're one of those people who likes to wait on tight ends in the FFPC, you can wait till guys who went way up the draft board this year. Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, Noah Fant, Pat Freiermuth. None of those guys. Well, maybe Fant was. But I don't think any of those guys are going in the top 10 last year. They're all top 11 this year. You can get Mike Gesicki, Zach Ertz, Logan Thomas. All those guys are going in the early 10th round right now. So Gesicki makes a lot of sense. Now, Waddle, on the other hand, I'm not totally sure I'm on. Now, I was not a Jalen Waddle guy last year. I didn't get him in any leagues. I didn't get him in any dynasty leagues. I didn't get him in any redraft leagues, I don't think I had one share of Jalen Waddle last year. And let me tell you, I regretted it pretty much every day of the season. Wide receiver 13 right now at the 309. He's going right behind T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, and then right ahead of DeAndre Hopkins, that little glut that's going sort of in the mid to late third round. You can make the case that Waddle is the most valuable name out of all those receivers there. He's the unquestioned number one receiver for Miami. That's something T. Higgins can't say. That's something DK Metcalf can't say. That's something DeAndre Hopkins, not anymore, can't say it anymore after what happened last season. I mean, I guess when he's healthy, he's the unquestioned number one. But at that point, do you really want to risk DeAndre Hopkins at the end of the third round? I guess you could, depending upon what you do in the first couple rounds. But, man, football is a young man's game, and I think I'd much rather have Jalen Waddle going forward here than DeAndre Hopkins. Then you have the Kyler Murray thing to worry about, too. Same thing with DK Metcalf. You got the Russell Wilson thing to worry about there. I think Keenan Allen, to me, is a guy that's always been a super safe pick. Always seems to put up numbers. I don't know if Mike Williams is going to be back with the Chargers this coming year, but I do know that Josh Palmer took a step forward last year, and I think he's going to be a big part of the Chargers' plans in 2022. And you can make a pretty strong case that the reason they took Josh Palmer out of Tennessee in the third round last year was because they did not expect to be able to sign Mike Williams this coming year. So, Keenan Allen, I think, is pretty safe. I think out of all those five guys, Jalen Waddle and Keenan Allen are probably my two favorites out of there, something I would not have been able to say this time last year. All right. So, listen, I apologize for this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what's going on. I've tried to troubleshoot this, and for whatever reason, it does not look like we are going to be able to get either Connor O'Driscoll or Alex Kaganovsky on tonight. So we will be cutting this show quickly here. And once again, I do apologize for this, and this is clearly a Blog Talk Radio issue. Hopefully we won't be on Blog Talk Radio much longer. More to come on that. So we will get Connor on. We will get him on going forward. Maybe probably not next week, but maybe the week after we can get him on. And especially with best ball season, a guy who wins $100,000 playing in the first ever best ball tournament, we got to pick his brain. We got to get into some strategy with him. So we will have him on within the next couple of weeks. I want to thank the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. I want to wish a happy birthday to not only Kirk Osborne, long-time FFPC player, who we got to get on this show at some point. You see him in Vegas every year. He's always facilitating as well. Happy birthday to Kirk Osborne, as well as Football Guys co-founder, the one, the only, Joe Bryant. Yeah, that's right. He's celebrating a birthday today, too. So happy birthday, Joe. We will indeed be back next Friday at 10/9 Central, 2021 $100,000 Football Guys Players Championship runner-up Jeff Volpe will be our guest. He's been on this program before, and he's going to come back next week, and we'll be able to chat with him and talk about how he won that six-figure grand prize in the FPC. Register for the inaugural Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Dynasty Orphans available at myffpc.com/dynasty for sale. The slow live and Citigo 12-team closed best ball drafts also available at myffpc.com. Don't forget, $1 million in the FFPC main event this year. Jump in now. Your Super Bowl weekend starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and heard around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
One other thing, and want to make mention of this, but former guest of the show, Brian Holgen, you know him on Twitter as Draft Addict. His team names are usually Dude Platinum, and for all his FFPC teams. Earlier in January, he actually lost his wife, 39 years old, in a head-on collision car accident, and his 8-year-old son, who was also in the car, survived, but he does have some pretty serious injuries. He's out of the hospital, thankfully, and doing much better from what I can see on Twitter. Brian posting updates there. So just a shout out to him and his family from everybody at the HSFF Hour and the FFPC, and just a special message too. And by the way, there is a scholarship fund set up in memory of his wife, Sarah. And if you want to check that out, Twitter.com/FFPC, we have it on the feed right there, and you can donate to that. But, we talk about football. We love football. We love fantasy football. We love everything that has to do with it. But don't forget the most important things in life, and that's, family and friends and those close to you. And certainly he's going through a very, very, I just can't even imagine how difficult the time he's going through right now. So if you're on Twitter, all those messages of positivity certainly help, and I would encourage you to do that. And all the best to the Holgen family as they're going through this tough time right now. Thoughts and prayers definitely with you, and rooting for your son too, Brian. That will do it for our show this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next Friday. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and thanks so much.